What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to this Monday edition of the PrizePicks Picks Show. Just baseball today. PGA Championship is over. Wasn't the best week for me there. I really needed a strong Sunday from Sahith Theegala. We did not get that. We got the polar opposite of a strong Sunday from Theegala, but still great tournament, and we were able to close the weekend with a 6-for-6 pick, which, by the way, like how poetic is that, where we spend every day of the week, 6 days a week at least, coming on here, giving out 6-pick plays, and we went the entire week last week without a 6-for-6, which certainly is no surprise, right? Like if we're hitting 2 or 3 of these a month, we're going to be swimming in cash. So the fact that we went 6 days without one, that's no big deal. But then no show yesterday. What do? We hit the 6-for-6 on a combination of baseball and NBA plays. Today, it's just going to be baseball, but jumping right back in. Hopefully we can hit more. Before we jump into today's picks, I need to ask a favor of you guys. With the NBA playoffs winding down, we need to make a decision on the timing of this show throughout the rest of the summer, at least for the time being. So what I want to know from you guys, do you prefer the show to stay in this window right around noon, 12:15 each day, or would you guys prefer an earlier show somewhere in the morning? Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 10:30, whatever. The idea would be that a lot of the time for the baseball picks that we love, by the time 12:15 rolls around, the picks that we wanted to talk about have already been taken off the board. So if you want earlier picks, let us know. If you're watching live, drop it in the live chat. Whether you're watching live or watching a replay of this show, comment below. You can look, your comment can be as simple as morning. It can be noon, or you could tell us why you prefer the time that you want. Our expectation is that more of you are going to be able to watch in this noon window. More of you are, but then also that's got to be balanced with how many of the best plays that we like we can actually discuss here on the show. So please, please, please let us know in the comments and in the live chat if you're watching along right now. All right, let's jump into the picks for today. You can see I've already got the hits plus runs plus RBIs brought up, and that's because we've got Juan Soto at 1.5 hits plus run plus RBI. We want the more here. Basically, anytime Soto is available at this prop right now, we're going to take it. We've got him projected for 2.5 hits plus runs plus RBI. All we need is 2. We've got this at 59.8%. Now, a little bit of context behind this pick. Soto has reached this number in 52, slightly more than 52% of his games so far this season. This is not a great matchup against Logan Gilbert. We're not afraid of Gilbert. We've got him as the 48th best pitcher in our rankings. So it's a slightly negative matchup, but it's certainly nothing that we need to be afraid of. So why, if Soto's only hitting this 52% of the time, do we like it to hit nearly 60%? I think there are a couple things involved. Number one, when Soto is hit, he's hit it like by a mile in so many games that I think if nothing changed from the all of the season to this point, and it just continued exactly in that way throughout the rest of the year, I think he'd hit more like a 55 to 57% clip. But one big thing has changed of late, and that is the Yankees as a team are hitting the ball a lot better. Volpe has heated up, and Aaron Judge especially. Judge couldn't hit the side of a barn early in the season. Now, all of a sudden, he's hitting everything. He's hitting with power. So there were a ton of games early in the year where Soto had a hit, but he didn't have a run. He didn't have an RBI, so he didn't get to the 2 hits plus runs plus RBI that we need here. If Soto just continues to do what he's done throughout the year, or I should say if Soto did exactly what he's done throughout the year to this point, but Judge, Volpe, and the rest of the offense were hitting the way they are now, I think he'd hit more like 60 to 65% of the time. So slightly negative matchup, but everybody else heating up and Soto still being Juan Soto, our number 1 ranked hitter in our model. We've got this at 59.8%. So really like this as a start. And then we can go over to the strikeout department. Dean Kramer, more than 4.5 strikeouts. You can see this one also at the very top for us. And we've got this at 61.8%. In 2 of his last 4 starts, he struck out 10. I don't know where this strikeout upside has come from, but Cardinals, strikeout heavy team. They're obviously not hitting the ball very well so far this season. And the model really likes what it's seeing from Kramer. I don't know what exact changes he has made, But obviously this stuff is improved. Otherwise, there's no chance he's getting to 10 strikeouts twice. And the model seems to really agree with whatever changes he's made. So we've got this one nearly 62%, another one-off that I really like. And then we're going to go to the outs department. And Fetty less than 17.5 outs is really standing out to us. So we can go over here. Let's check out the outs. I don't know what just happened. hit the wrong button, obviously. Here we go. Outs. Fetty less than 17.5, 67.1%. And you guys know, whenever I go to a less than on outs, I want to correlate it. We had one of these pairings yesterday. So let's see what we can do today. I'll start in the fantasy points department, or actually I can just kind of go to all of this, and I'm just going to go find the Jays versus the Sox. I'm looking for Blue Jays here. All right, there are way too many. That's overwhelming. We're going to cut it down to fantasy points first. So we see, okay, we've got two options here, Vlad Guerrero Jr. or Bo Bichette. So the way that I like to do it, I'm just going to add them both in. I'm going to add them both in, and I'm going to see what kind of win percentages we get here. 58.4 on Vlad, 53.7% for Bo Bichette. Now let's go over to hits plus runs plus RBI. I've got Springer, Justin Turner, Danny Jansen, and Davis Schneider all available. So let's bring these guys in here, and I'll stop momentarily right here. So again, I just like to load in as many of these as possible. Immediately I see, okay, Springer's at 48.9%. Probably not going to keep him. So yeah, he's at the bottom. Then Justin Turner at 50.3%. We can get rid of him as well. If we're going to go to the fantasy points prop, number one, Vlad is a lot better than Bichette, and he's on a half number instead of a full number, so he can't tie, which means I like that more as well. So we'll get rid of Bichette. Now we got to decide between Vlad and Jansen. And just for fun, let's also bring in Schneider because I know he's been hitting really well. And also he's near the top of the order. So sometimes you can get a guy projected for fewer, but then it's actually a better play, especially if you're trying to correlate against a pitcher like this. So let's see what it says for Davis Schneider. We did just get the overall win percentage update, but it didn't show up there. So let's take him out and put him back in. There we go. 52.4% is what I just saw for Schneider. I don't know why it disappeared again. But what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to say, okay, we've got three here potentially in the mix. Let's see what they all look like individually with Fetty. And let's get this to load. Here, let's do this. Let's go back to the fantasy points and let's just bring in Vlad. I think that 44.1%. Yeah, 44.1% combined, 4.9 percentage point correlation bonus. That is spectacular. 44.1% here. Again, I think that's going to be tough to beat, but let's see what we can do with those other hits plus run plus RBI picks. So it was Danny Jansen, 43.4, solid. Look at that correlation bonus, 6.1 percentage points. So even though Jansen less likely on his own to hit than Vlad, there's more correlation. So these two plays are really, really close together, correlating the Fetty less than on outs with either the Vlad fantasy points or the Jansen hit plus runs plus RBI. And then let's go to Schneider, see what that one's like, 41.2%. Again, a 6 percentage point correlation bonus, but not as likely to hit as Danny Jansen. If you're, I should say, I'm a little bit wary of Jansen just because we don't know where exactly in the order he's going to hit. We don't even know for sure that he's going to be in the order. We've got two viable catchers between Jansen and Alejandro Kirk. So if you're going to place this right now, my lean is definitely to Vlad. Once we get the lineup, if Jansen is in, maybe you kind of double down on this type of play. And whatever you played earlier with Vlad, now you also play it with Jansen instead. So that's going to be the way that I do it. And from there, we need two more. Now we've got 4 picks. We need 2 more to make our 6-pick play. I'm going to go Reese Olson, more than 24.5 fantasy points, one of the very top plays in the model. Olson has been really good of late, and here he projects 65.4% against Kansas City. I don't really have much context to add to this one. Just trust the model on it. Again, Olson has been great. There's no reason to think that the model's overrating him or anything like that. So 24.5 is just really solid. I will point out 24.5 versus 23.5 is a pretty important number just because guys are more likely to be pulled after a full inning. So, maybe it's like he's got 3 strikeouts, which is worth 9 points, or 3 more strikeouts than runs allowed. So there's 9. If it's 23.5, then you just need 15, which means you need 5 complete innings. So getting 5 complete innings, a lot more likely than 5 1/3 innings. So 23.5 to 24.5 is an important number, but we still have this at 65.4%. So this isn't something that I'm scared away from. There are other ones. So like Taj Bradley, 27.5, again, a very important number, 63.4%. You could go to this. He's only had 2 starts this year, so I think there's a little bit more uncertainty on him than most. So the fact that he also has a really important number makes me a little bit more wary of that pick, which is why I'm going to the Reese Olson pick. And then finally, the last one, I'm not 100% sure I want to go this route, but the Dodgers are facing what seems to be a bullpen game for Arizona. It's already a bad bullpen, and now you need extra innings from them. That seems to set up really well for Ohtani. So 8.5 fantasy points. Another reason why I think this is really strong and why we might actually be underrating it at 56.3%. When you get this many bullpen arms, the chances that Ohtani reaches base against a guy who's terrible at preventing stolen bases is a lot higher than usually is, especially if he were, facing a starter who's quite good at preventing stolen bases. So now we know there are going to be so many different arms rotating through. Bullpen guys typically worse than starters at preventing stolen bases. So I really like Ohtani's stolen base upside here, which means 8.5 is a lot more attainable than usual. And if there's something that the model might underrate, it's exactly that. It's underrating the stolen base equity for a player. So, here, Ohtani singles, walks, steals a base, and then gets driven in. Boom. He just hit 8.5. So a lot easier to get to 8.5 when you don't have to have multiple hits or drive in multiple runs or score twice, when you could just get a stolen base and pretty much get there, like Luis Arias did for us yesterday in our 6 for 6. So that's our 6 for 6 for today, for this morning. Good luck to everybody. We will catch you next time. And again, I should have been here in the chat earlier. I think this is probably where we're leaning, but we need to get feedback from you guys. We need to know how many of you would actually be able to tune in for a 10:30 show, a 10:15 show, whatever the case may be. We need to know that. So again, thank you for these comments here in the live chat. Also comment down below. And if you're watching a recorded version of the show, please, 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 on your way out, like the show. That helps us a ton. And then also comment. Also helps us, but more importantly, it helps us help you guys. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's make it 2 days in a row with the 6 for 6, and we'll catch you next time.